Well, I want to continue my game between Capablanca and Mattison, played in Carlsbad 1920, and I was just discussing White's 12th move, rook on a to b1, which is tying down Black's development. So how should Black respond? Well, the natural move looks like would be b6, but what this really does is that now the Black's queen is cut off from sort of retreat and sort of traps it over on this side of the board. And if Black plays b6 right away, then White's going to play rook on rook to b6, d6. I'm sorry, attacking the rook on f8. The rook comes to d8, and then White plays rook to b5, attacking the queen. The queen only can go to a6. Then White will play c takes d5, attacking the knight here, and now White has potential. When the rook moves, White will get a discovered attack on the queen. Rook takes d6, and then d takes c6, and now the queen obviously can't retreat. The only safe square, since we don't want to get a discovered attack, will be queen to a3, and actually White's up a pawn. So White wins a pawn, so that doesn't look like a good continuation for Black. And what Black decides to do is queen to a3. Really to this way that Black can play b6, and then the bishop obviously can't come to d6 anymore because the queen's protecting that square, or covering that square. So now White plays rook on f to d1, really setting up for a central break for taking the pawn on d4. Black plays b6, so it can continue its development, and now White goes for the central, for controlling the center. So takes the pawn, also helping to resolve its doubled pawns. And it would not be good for, so, how should Black recapture with the knight with the pawn? Well, if you take with the pawn, then White just plays c4. Now it's definitely going to break up the center, and White's going to control the center. So Black has to play knight takes d5, and now White plays knight to g5, a threatening mate over here. And now how should Black respond? Well, if Black responds with knight to f6, then White just plays bishop to d6, forking queen and rook. And if Black plays g6, then the black square, or these two squares, actually all the black squares around the queen have been weakened, and White has a black bishop, and that would not be a good thing for Black. So it's not a good positional move. So Black plays f5, sort of cutting off the diagonal. And now White plays bishop f3, and if you look at it, along this diagonal, Black has three nice pieces lined up that this bishop is now put on a more useful diagonal, attacking these pieces. And now what should Black do? Well, if it plays some move which won't affect the position, let's just say rook to e8, then what White really has planned is rook takes d5, and if Black's gonna have to recapture or lose a piece, then bishop takes with check, king moves, bishop takes c6, and then this rook over here in the corner is lost. So you can see that if Black really does nothing, that White's really going to mop up with taking a lot of pieces. So how should Black respond? Well, you say, well, we'll just take the knight here. Well, that leads to, the bishop. The knight will take the bishop here on f4. Well, that just leads to bishop takes c6. The rook has to move. Then we just take the knight on f4, and White's up a piece. So that doesn't work. So what black does is play queen to c5, trying to protect the two knights. But then white plays c4, attacking the knight, and where can the knight go? Well, if it goes to f6, we just play bishop to d6 again. So that doesn't work. Let's say, knight on d to e7. Well, once again, the bishop just comes in. Probably queen goes a5, and then we take that knight, and if this knight recaptures, we just take the rook in the corner. That doesn't work. So what black does is plays knight on d to b4, attacking the queen. But now the queen just comes to b3, renewing the threat of bishop to d6, threatening queen and rook. And also, if you look at it, the queen is lined up along this diagonal, setting some stuff up. And now black plays e5, basically trying to stop the threat of bishop to d6 and attacking the bishop. White plays a3, attacking the knight, and it would be a mistake for black to, how should black respond? Well, it would be a mistake for black to play e takes f4, because then white plays a takes b4, the queen has to move. Let's say the queen basically has to go, what's a good square? e7, but then white wins the knight. So the knight is forced to go to a6, the only real square left. And then white plays bishop to c6, and then black resigned in this position because of this continuation. If the queen does not recapture, then white wins a piece and is going to win the game. So when queen takes, then white has this nice move of c5, discovered check. And how is white to respond? Well, one of the options is bishop to e6, but that just loses a piece to knight takes e6. The only other real continuation is to play king to h8, but then this leads to a nice smothered mate, and the smothered mate continues. Knight to f7, check, king to g8, knight to h6, check, king to h8, queen to g8, check, queen sacrifice, rook takes g8, knight to f7, checkmate. So that is the game between Capablanca and Mattison.